Alright, so we've gone over PvE and PvP gameplay, we've talked about the guns, we've talked about the classes, we've discussed activities on patrol, so the last things to cover are the vendors, items, the cryptarch, and all that kind of stuff that resides in the tower. So in the city, there are plenty of vendors. You have your class vendors, your faction vendors, the gun vendors, ship vendors, shader vendor, the speaker, and some quartermasters. The class vendors sell your class armor, Vanguard class armor, and emblems. Vanguard class armor is the super beast armor that you get from Vanguard mercs, which you can get from turning in spin metal and probably some other stuff. Spin metal turn-ins get you 5 marks and 50 standing with the Vanguard. It is a really good way to get marks. It's not the most efficient on standing, but the fact that you get both is pretty good. The Vanguard Quartermaster also sells Vanguard weapons and higher level sparrows, which have the benefit of lateral movement. They are pretty expensive and you do need to get to rank 3 with the Vanguard. I don't know if rank 3 is the highest. Speaking of gaining standing, bounties are good. You can carry 5 bounties at a time and can abandon them at any time that you want. You need to be level 6 to get them. Turning in a Vanguard bounty got me 100 Vanguard standing. These Crucible bounties gave me 75 standing for one bounty and 50 for another, so this leads me to believe that it's possible for Vanguard bounties to grant various amounts of standing depending on what the bounty is. The Crucible Handler and Quartermaster are in the room before the class vendors. The Handler sells all the armor that you get from doing Crucible. They all cost Crucible marks, and the helm costs twice the amount of marks compared to the arms and chest. Higher level armor can give you bonus stats once you level it up enough. Armor is also pretty much the only thing that can give any sort of bonuses to weapons, like faster reload with a certain weapon, increased grenade throw distance, carry more ammo with a certain weapon, etc. So far, I haven't seen anything that directly boosts the damage on your weapon besides the one upgrade that boosts the attack value of your weapon. We'll go more into that soon. The Quartermaster does the same thing as the Vanguard Quartermaster, sells sparrows, and lets you turn in material for marks and standing. Faction vendors serve the same purpose. They have super awesome weapons and armor that you get from doing PvP. They also sell emblems and shaders. Shaders are the things that dye your armor, and they dye your entire armor set. It is not a piece-by-piece basis. In the alpha, it was impossible to gain standing with the factions. Factions did have a standing meter, so it might be possible to gain standing with them in the future. But if it is possible, we don't know how to do it yet, nor do we know what it will be for. You didn't need a specific standing rating with a faction in order to buy the weapons and armor that they sold. All you needed was Crucible standing and marks. So you're seeing all these stats: strength, discipline, intellect, light. All these stats do the same thing for every class. Strength decreases the cooldown of your melee ability, discipline decreases the cooldown of your grenade, and intellect reduces the cooldown of your super ability. Easy way to remember what does what: you use strength for fighting, so that's melee, magic is generally matched with intellect, so that's your super, and discipline is the other one. Unfortunately, I didn't get to test these stats too much in the alpha. The one test that I did get to do was with intellect on a warlock. I mentioned that I use a warlock specifically because I don't know if it's the same thing for all the other classes I didn't get to test. So the test I did was where I just let myself charge my super over time with 0 intellect, and then again with 26 intellect, which gives a 32% effect. Using a warlock with 0 intellect, it takes 5 minutes and 27.5 seconds for your super to charge if you are doing absolutely nothing. I started the clock as soon as I went into first person and ended it the frame that my super meter turned yellow. With 26 intellect giving a 32% effect, it took 4 minutes and 56.5 seconds, so that's 31 seconds shaved off your passive charge time. Each point of intellect gives about a 1.23% increased effect, so about 81 intellect will give you a 100% effect. If 32% gives us 31 seconds off, then 100% gives us about 97 seconds off. I do not know if this effect applies to kills that you get. Kills do contribute to super meter gain, but once again, I didn't get to test it. While we're on the topic of super meter, in the Devil's Lair video from April, there was a multiplier next to the super meter, but this multiplier wasn't present in alpha. I'm not sure what the deal is with this. It's possible it could have just been eliminated completely, or maybe it's a higher level mechanic that we didn't have access to. As for the light stat, light increases your level, increasing the damage your abilities deal against higher level enemies. I don't know if this includes weapon damage as well, my guess would be yes. A very frequently asked question is, what is the level cap for Destiny? Well, let's swing on over to the speaker. The speaker sells pretty sweet class items and emblems for the costs of motes of light. A mote of light is obtained by continuing to earn experience after level 20. It would appear that the level cap is 20 according to this, but we've seen people above level 20 before. Well, the light stat would certainly explain that. Level 20 seems to be the max that you can level to without light, but we don't know if there's a light cap. That's all we know about the light stat and the level cap though. We'll need more information from the beta or the final version of the game to figure out anything else. Keeping on stats, I've rammed the armor, recovery, and agility stats into your head enough times with the class videos, but once again, armor increases how much damage you can take before you die, recovery increases the speed at which you regain lost health, and agility increases your movement speed and jump height. Defense is different from armor. Defense determines how much damage you take from individual enemy hits. Attack determines what level enemies you can attack, so higher attack values allow you to deal damage to higher level opponents. Attack does not necessarily determine the damage your weapon does, obviously it does in some capacity, but my theory is that it determines which enemies will take full damage from your weapon. Let's take a look into gun stats more. All are pretty self-explanatory. You have impact, which determines how much damage your bullets do. I'll talk more on that in a minute. You have range. The higher your range, the less of a damage penalty there is from shooting from far distances. Stability is recoil. The more stability you have, the less recoil you'll have. And reload is how long it takes for you to reload your gun. The higher the meter, the faster you'll reload. This example, I don't have any reload meter, meaning this gun reloads slow as hell. Rate of fire is how many shots you can get off per minute. Magazine size is how many bullets your gun can hold. So this relationship with impact and attack is not too crazy. Rate of fire tends to have a big influence on damage as well. I don't know if anyone picked up the rifle or machine gun with a rate of fire of 900, but I did. With that rifle, the impact was incredibly low with the attack value being in the 80s. The impact and rate of fire had a much greater effect on the damage dealt as opposed to the attack value given equal guardian and enemy levels. I didn't get to test as much as I would have liked to, but I've come up with a theory based on my observations. Attack seems to act like a limiter on what you can deal full damage to. So for example, a weapon with 96 attack will enable you to deal full damage to an enemy at a specific level or a specific defense rating. That defense rating is impossible to figure out right now. I've been putting a decimal one spot left of the rightmost digit, so 96 would be 9.6. So what that would mean in regards to my theory is that a weapon with 96 attack rating would deal full damage to enemies at level 9.6 or below. Each weapon has their own damage values based on weapon type, rate of fire, and most importantly impact, which I'm sure is all based on some internal algorithms. Once again, that's all just a theory. There's still way more testing that needs to be done before coming to any conclusions, but for now, higher impact equals more damage per shot given equal levels. Something that we do know for a fact is that the headshot multiplier for weapons is 3.0, so headshots deal 3 times as much damage to red health enemies. Sniper rifles have a 5x multiplier, and shotguns seem to have a 5x multiplier as well. Majors and ultras, aka yellow health bar enemies, have everything cut in half, so headshots are 1.5x multiplier and 2.5x multiplier for snipers and shotguns. Fusion rifles cannot crit. While we're on fusion rifles, they have varying charge levels and durations. The smaller the charge number, the longer it takes to fire. You might have noticed the damage types of solar, arc, and or void damage on weapons as well. It's unknown if there are any negatives to using an elemental weapon over a non-elemental weapon. Certain enemies are weak to certain elements, namely any enemy with a colored shield. Hive wizards have a red shield, meaning they're weak to solar damage, Fallen captains have a blue shield, meaning they're weak to arc damage. We didn't see any purple shields in the alpha, so we don't know if they actually exist, but my guess would be yes. Moving on to some more vendors, the gunsmith is pretty self-explanatory. He sells guns. His inventory rotates every 3 hours. He also sells ammo consumables for all weapons. To use a consumable, you need to be in a combat area. I didn't test to see if you could use a consumable in PvP, but I'm gonna guess you can't. To actually use it, just go into your inventory, hover over it, and hold your corresponding button while in a combat area. Ava Levante is also pretty self-explanatory. She sells emblems and shaders. You buy both of them with Glimmer, but shaders are off limits until level 20, just some more evidence pointing towards level 20 being the level cap. The ship vendor, also pretty self-explanatory. She sells sparrows and ships in the space station. Try saying that 3 times fast. Actually don't, it wasn't that hard. Her stock does not refresh nearly as often. I think it's on a 3-day timer, not 100% sure on that. The next big thing is the Cryptarch, but just before we talk about the Cryptarch, let's talk to the Postmaster. The Postmaster supposedly holds green quality or better engrams that spawned in the wild that you never picked up. Alright, so the Cryptarch takes engrams that you find out in the wild and turns them into sweet, sweet loots. He also takes house banners, and I assume any other banners if they exist, and gives you 200 Glimmer in exchange. In the alpha, that was the only thing you could do with engrams and banners. I definitely remember reading in the past that you were able to just turn in engrams without decoding them in exchange for something. If that is indeed possible, we weren't able to do it in the alpha, and for the record, I don't think that will end up being a thing. You have to decode engrams if you have them, if you want access to the Cryptarch, but that is the only thing that you can do with them, so decode away. You can also buy engrams from the Cryptarch. They are basically random weapons. You can level the Cryptarch by having him decode stuff that you find, and from buying stuff from him to decode. A white item gives 50 standing, green items give 100, and blue items give 250. Also interesting to note that there's a chance that you can get a blue quality item from a green quality engram, at least when buying from the Cryptarch. I do not know about turn-ins. As you rank up the Cryptarch, you'll get access to higher level engrams. I got my Cryptarch to rank 2 and eventually rank 3 in the alpha, and was able to buy blue quality weapon engrams. Rank 3 didn't seem to unlock anything else, but then again, his inventory does rotate every 3 hours, perhaps I didn't check. I said I got some blue quality weapons, so let's take a look at them. They definitely had way more upgrades than the green quality weapons. Green quality weapons tended to only have an attack upgrade and an option for a scope, or if it was a shotgun, it had options for pellets. There might have been another upgrade that I forgot. In order to unlock these upgrades, just use the weapon a lot and it'll gain experience. As for how long it takes to level up a weapon, I used nothing but a fusion rifle to unlock its attack upgrade, and it didn't take very long, maybe 10 to 15 minutes, but that could vary on a weapon to weapon basis. I did dismantle some blue quality weapons, but they only gave weapon parts, nothing special. Blue, and by extension purple weapons, have options for scopes and bullets, along with other unique stats. You can lock in for an additional attack bonus, much like the subclass can lock in, although I really doubt you'll be given a copy of the weapon like you will allegedly get with the subclass. Blue armor didn't have as many upgrades as blue weapons. Any upgrades that need to be bought, this goes for weapons and armor, are permanently obtained. There's no having to choose. I think that just about sums up everything: the tower, weapons, items, stats, all that good stuff, although I apologize if I missed something. My brain has basically been overloaded on Destiny, and I've talked so much about stuff that I just can't remember. I have one more video that I can think of, which will basically just be some closing thoughts on the alpha, and that should be it, maybe one more to tie up any loose ends. So, blah blah at Datto's Destiny, blah blah positive ratings. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.